Welcome back. We're doing another Hulai Houdini challenge. Getting started here. So I posted yesterday's Alex, Tokyo, vegan nuts. Good to see everyone. I posted yesterday's challenge. I ended up just making a GIF out of the Korean. Good to see everyone. So I just made a GIF of that kind of stop motion like effect or whatever, and then a higher resolution still. So I put that in the side effects Hulai forum. If you just go to the Houdini forum or whatever, there's a section for it. If you're in the area of the forum, give me some more thumbs up. See some more movement in there. So we have wind today. Added the nice other direction thing to my OBS. So we have our topic set. Brando, good to see you. Yeah, so I'm just starting with the same backplate and everything else that we kind of left off with yesterday. Hulai, Hulai, Hulai. Mistaken tuna, good to see you. So this is my psych. Long walk to Than, good to see you. So we'll just get started with a geometry container. And I have some ideas with particles and stuff like that for the wind. Thank you for the sub, Steva GH. Yeah, if any new people are in here or anything like that, if you have a sub to spare, whether it's Amazon Prime, you can link your Prime account with Twitch and then you have a free sub, or you can do extra subs and help support this community. It helps support the global Houdini community, maybe. The more we can grow this and turn more people onto Houdini, the more that we'll just succeed as a global software unit collective. So we'll do pop network. And this tab menu just starts it off with like the default kind of emission sort of stuff. So whatever geometry or polygons you plug into the first input, it will use that as an emission source. I think this pop axis force thing is pretty cool. You can use it for like tornadoes and stuff like that. I might just do this, expand the radius. So you could do orbit force pretty easily. Suction and lift. And we have a dust devil, storm. Yeah, so I think that's pretty cool. Let's maybe do this pop wind. So it seems a bit strong. So I'm just trying to add some, like break up the cyclone a little bit so it's not as, like this just looks like a math equation or a helix or something like that. So we add this matches the topic, all you have to do is use this node and submit your Houdini file, and you could get the Iron Man award. So I think that's pretty cool. The pop access thing is pretty nice because you can get like all sorts of, kind of looks like a fluid simulation almost. Like I think with this torus, it would get rid of the orbit. You could get kind of stuff flushing, like a helicopter taking off almost. I think it's kind of like I think they have the same kind of force in Maya. So we'll just put this guy up, and then this kind of like blowing everything away as soon as it gets emitted. I don't know why there's some stuff collecting in the middle. Need to investigate that. But you'd also turn off the birth, the life expectancy. So like these particles don't live as long after they're emitted. I don't know why we're getting some stuck in the middle there. It might be like just the shape. You guys are doing your Hulai submissions? So it looks like just changing the radius a little bit. We kind of fixed it. So I might want to add the ground plane, just so things have something to bounce off of or like scrape up against. So I just turn off, hide the visibility with that teal cyan flag, cyan. So we have a couple different forces that are kind of like a wind, different wind effects, different ways the wind might move stuff around. This is kind of a storm, and then this one is more of just like whoosh, like disperse, get out of the middle of the frame, or get out of there. I think you can also, let's try this one. This could be interesting. So there's a pop attract. Usually you use this like a magnet kind of to pull everything inwards. But I think you can just set it to negative numbers, and then you have blow everything away. So this torus one is doing more of like a helicopter kind of like rotor wash type of thing. This one is just positionally like every direction get away from this center point. So if I take the goal position, move it up or like down below the ground, then it shoots stuff out that way. So these are pretty cool. They might be useful. Interesting. I tried creating a tornado once, but it was sourcing noisy volume and feeding it to velocity volume. Looked ugly. Yeah, I don't know about sourcing volume velocities. I tend to have a hard time working that way. I think sourcing particles into DOPS, like the way that I've been doing it in some of the other streams, you get just a little bit more realistic results that way. So like this one, I just don't want the ground Just exclude everything that starts with ground. I don't know if I want that much wind. Let's just turn that down a bit. So I think one thing we can do with these Vexpressions is pretty nice. So with all of these particles, there's kind of a hidden attribute. So gem is a cheat code. So this is this n age. It's like normalized age. So if I take this orbit speed and multiply it or mask it by the n age attribute, this goes from 0 to 1. It's like normalized age, so you don't have to remap, like it will automatically adjust to your life expectancy. So over 2 seconds or 48 frames, that n age will go from 0 to 1. So if I do the other things like lift speed and suction speed, then we just have kind of a global mask that automatically adapts to all the particles' lifespan. So do lift, suction. So you can see at the start it's 0 and then it kicks in. If we want to flip it around, like invert it, we just do 1 minus. So it's a useful thing about working with like normalized ages or normalized numbers. Like, you know, it will be between 0 and 1. So you can just take 1 minus to invert it or flip it around. And then with this wind, we can do the other kind of thing. So I think this is just amp times equals n age. So this value will get masked, or we'll start with no wind, ambient wind noise, and then gradually over the age of the particles will transition to the full effect. So we're basically just blending between these two noises or these two forces over the duration of the particle's lifespan. So even if we add variance so that some are living longer than others, each one of these particles will have that same blend kind of applied to it. Now it's looking maybe a little bit more natural, less like mechanic of a wind, I guess. Let's try. This is how you know you're a pro. You just keep connecting these simulations together like this. So I'm gonna do, this is kind of one of my classic setups. We take our p-scale, we take our source particles, we change p-scale around, we visualize that. If you just set this to disks, then the particles in the viewport will be drawn, their radius or the size of that disk will be the radius of the p-scale. So do custom ramp, and it's just different. There's like a lot of different ways to work with this. Maybe like global scale is a good one. And min and max. So basically this ramp gets fit to this minimum and maximum range, and then this global scale gets applied. And that's how it determines. It's like a lot of parameters at first, but once you use it more, you'll get, it makes more sense, I guess. So maybe even a bit smaller. Probably even smaller. And then you have some flickering. Bing, 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 bing. It's very glamorous. Good evening, Yaderia. So to fix that flickering, under options, they have this seed attribute. So all particles get an ID attribute to keep track of a consistent like index variable per particle. So if we use that and just let our randomize know, like use this as an anchor or as a generator for the p-scale, then we don't get the flickering. Skadooks! Billy, how's it going? Pops. Yeah, so we got pops. We're just kind of defining a force, curse and blessing at the same time. So I like this pops is kind of nice as a starting point. And then I have it chained, just daisy chaining all day here. And then this one is going to be a pyro simulation. So you kind of do, or I guess just a smoke simulation. So it's like a good way to sculpt or control fluid simulations is if you first set up particles that are kind of doing roughly what you think you want them to do. And then you just run them into a fluid solver. And you'll get some pretty nice results, I think. So then I just usually use this other input, like the fourth or third input, the last one, to define my domain. So this way, if I want to make adjustments or work, like setting things up, maybe I want to do a smaller domain, and then if I run into issues, it's just easier using the SOP modeling tools to change the domain. If you do it down here, you just have this one parameter and you can't do, it's just harder to control, I've found. So we just wire this with expressions to grab it. I don't think I need that backtick. So we just do bbox, the op input path of the parent node, the last input, then d underscore x size. Looks like it worked. Sometimes I mess that up. So we're getting the sizes, and then we can get the centers, this centroid expression. You can either just do dx, or with centroid, you can just use the integer numbers, like x, y, and z is 0, 1, 2 as well. So both of those are the same thing. This is much easier than what I'd done. I did a lot of cross products, and generally it was a huge pain in the ass. Yeah, I mean, this this guy in here probably has some cross products going on somewhere. But yeah, I mean, it just depends what you're trying to do. It's useful to know. You got a dot across there. There it is. It's useful to know the math and stuff like that, but sometimes, I don't know, especially if you're trying to work quickly, you don't want to spend a bunch of time breaking out your TI-83 calculator. So we have our smoke object, and we just need something to solve it. Talking tornadoes. There's nothing I love more than talking tornadoes. Talking the movie Twister. It's a classic right there. So this one, I'm just gonna do solve on creation frame. The closed boundaries, maybe we want to start with -y as like a ground plane. Basically, we're saying velocity can't go up or down. I don't know if it's gonna be an Avenger portal. Are you talking about the Thanos thing? I'm just trying to make some really interesting velocities right now. I don't know. Probably not even going to visualize this smoke for my final effect. I'm just trying to make some really interesting wind right now. And then my plan is to just use the velocities from this smoke simulation to drive other stuff. So just connect this stuff up. This guy, I'm just gonna do the primary input, op input path, parent node 0 for primary input. Now we have our particles, pop to dop to pop, something like that. I don't know if the last one I might do a SOP solver, but it's going to be a lot of solving perhaps today. Yesterday we did no solving. It was just purely sculpting, doing the clay shader effects. Today is going to be a lot of dops on dops on dops. So we're getting our particles. They come in, they move around, but they don't do anything to the voxels or the fields right now. We could do particle to field to change that, to actually have them drive the fields. And the geometry is already linked up. The destination field, do vel. Attribute will be v. Just change that up, and then we want to add it. And usually I'll just also do density, just as like a visualization. So like I was saying, I'm just concerned about the motion of velocity, but so we're seeing visually stuff. Like I could turn off particles and now we can see some movement. Unfortunately, our simulation is 10 by 5 by 10. So it's very low resolution. It's like if you were simulating smoke on a floppy disk drive, this would be your the amount of voxels you could use. But we're in 2020, we can work at a higher resolution. So now it's a bit slow. Usually what I do is turn on this OpenCL. Under cache, turn off cache, and up here, let's just switch this over to use the GPU, so it's a lot faster than using CPUs to simulate large data sets like 3D volumes or voxels and all that stuff. So just pull in the density as a visualization, convert it to VDB. It's like quicker to display, for the viewport to display a VDB than it is the Houdini volume. So now it's a lot faster of a simulation. Doing 200 by 100 by 200, but everything is a lot quicker to do. So doing these Houdini challenges, we don't want to spend like 2 days grinding on a fluid simulation. So hopefully this way we can get results more quickly. Might need to examine. I have the view, my scene view pinned up here to make sure that I'm visualizing that VDB. So I think maybe usually I just turn off all of those shape settings to start with. Just like, I don't know, just starting with default, kind of blank, like a blank canvas. So we have our velocity, we have density, and this is our simulation. We might want more. I think we might want more particles, and then we might gonna try to make it a little bit more interesting of a source. So if we just do this attribute noise, this one we can use it to set up this emit attribute. So we're going to use this as a emission driver. So if I do color, you can scale the emission rate of the particle solver using attributes. So I'll just do ramp from attribute emit to visualize this. And then this one, we just want it to be a one-dimensional. I don't know, I think my viewport was messing up for a little bit. I think I fixed it. So we want this animated so that it changes over time. I might want the center noise so that we do have some negative and positive regions, like some areas that aren't emitting particles. Pulse duration is like the speed. The longer the pulse, the slower things update. And we might want to clamp minimum and maximum. This way, if we look at our spreadsheet, we just don't have any negative numbers. If we don't do that, like these sometimes mess up your future calculations or whatever, having negative. Depends what you're doing with these attributes, but for this, I don't want to worry about negative numbers and what they might do. So just set this, wire it in like that, or connect it. And now you can see that things are emitting from certain areas. Why do they have pulse length and not pulse duration? Got me confused. I think pulse length and pulse duration are pretty much the same thing. In my opinion, what would be easiest if they just said time or speed, and then it was just a single slider or scale that's like faster or slower. I think they've kind of done everyone a disservice by introducing this whole concept of pulse duration. It's like, it always hurts my head to think about it. It's like if you think about a heartbeat, if the duration between pulses or the length between pulses is longer, the heartbeat is happening slower. That's always how I kind of interpret it or visualize it, conceptualize it internally. So this way we just have some more interesting like structures or things kind of ripping up out of these areas. Yeah, I don't know about, I'm just trying to get more, this remap stuff always messes me up. Whoa, it's kind of weird how they're moving around like that. Yeah, I don't know, I might just keep it like this. Should be good. Let's make the element size, try some different things. I think that could be okay. And then just overall, I'm gonna make this emission even stronger, maybe. I guess I'm not gonna do that just yet. I'm actually just gonna make my source geometry smaller. So we're maybe getting some more interesting pyros moving around. Like I was saying with this box, it works a little bit nicer just because it's easier to visualize and modify up at SOPs level. Like sticking around up here is a bit easier. So I think, oops, don't want it that tall. Maybe like 1.5, just to have a little bit extra. I could just make this expression such that it's always half, the center is half the height. So it will always lie directly on top of the ground. So I might want this pop wind that's kicking in to be even stronger. You might get some more interesting results this way. Some of this stepping here that you see, like that's just because my particles are moving too fast for the pyro solver to pick them up, or the smoke solver to pick them up every frame. So if I just do this trail, we'll trail stuff like 7 steps over the duration of 1 frame. So this way, I think I just need to do a time blend to have the subframe interpolation. So now instead of particle go from here to here with my smoke solver, we source velocity over the whole range. So that should get rid of that stepping, the connect the dots game or whatever that we were seeing for a little bit. So I think this could be nice. It's kind of like an interesting wind force, wind effect or something. Like I was saying, I'm just more interested in the motion than I am in the visualization of the density for right now. So I want to go back into this. Just gonna make my division size bigger. Because I'm just using the velocity for right now, I don't need a super high resolution, super nice like visualization or whatever. So let's get our velocity. So I'm usually just using this object merge, grabbing the DOPNet, saying from inside of the DOPNet is the colon, and then from any object within the DOP network is the asterisk. The slash is to retrieve data from that object or from any object, and then vel. So now we're getting our velocity, and I usually just convert it as well to VDB. And I think I also want to do the vector merge, just to flatten the stuff into one grid, a vector field or vector volume, a single primitive, a single volume instead of like 3 individual things. It's kind of like if you were saving an image or something on disk, instead of doing like 3 different image files for RGB, you just work in RGB color and save stuff as one image file. It's like the difference kind of with what's going on with that. So now we have our velocity. If we want to visualize it, this grid can be a good way to do that. And then you just do trail. Then for each point on that grid, you'll get the visualization of the wind force, kind of what direction it's heading in and stuff like that. You can move this thing around to sample different areas of the volume to see kind of just what's going on with the velocity in that area. I usually prefer this advect by time. So that's one thing we can do with it. We could also scatter, I think, just on the grid. Let me get rid of that disks for right now. Don't want relax. Don't want maximum. Just do this. And then I do the SOP solver. It's like a classic. Where did it go? Solver, there it is. So we do this, and then the velocity field in the next input. VDB advect points. So this is a quick way just to move the particles using the velocity field from your Pyro simulation. Sometimes we get stuff that goes like inside or outside of the domain that causes problems. So I was usually doing another input for the domain grouping stuff. So this is now our domain input, and if we group the points by bounding regions, bounding object, then this should be inside. And then if you use this ray node, this will project points that are outside of the domain, outside of our container, back inside of it. Pop advect by volume. SOP solvers are slower. I don't think SOP solvers are slower. Have you been doing testing? We should just talk about slower to set up. We can do it. Usually there's just a bit more overhead with POP networks because it's so many like extra attributes that get assigned to things, where now I have the age, life, blah 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 blah. And then with this one, you're just doing the point position. So it's usually faster. I'm gonna stick with this for right now. Maybe we'll switch over. So we're doing points, the groups inside, just minimum distance, the snap stuff. And then usually I just peek the container in a little bit to add like some padding, like a margin. I'm just gonna try to visualize this. Try to force it inside even more. It's possible. Whoops. Just do like the exclamation mark. So I think I was just grabbing the wrong ones. So the exclamation mark just flips the group around. But I think now we're good. I don't know. I think we didn't want that. We should be getting stuff going up in the air, right? Maybe it's substeps. Let me just walk through some of the things here. So we're grouping the points by this bounding object. It's like that. And this one. Oh, no, so VDB advect will do volumes. I need points. I need it to be the VDB advect points. Maybe we'll just try it inside of here. So, yeah, I was trying that at first. Still seemed like stuff wasn't going up that high. I don't know if I don't know what happened. Something broke. All this stuff is shooting up. This directions here are going up. Maybe we'll just try it with this one. So it's possible this guy, we don't even need to do any VDB conversion. Whoops. I don't know what's going on here. Might have hit a stumbling block for right now. Mr. Wazo, how's it going? So, trying to get the particles moving with my velocity. Oh, that might be it. Yeah, it's sometimes just going like on the corner of the voxel. I might be getting myself into a filthy territory. I think that was right, yeah. Sometimes if you're right, like exactly on the edge of the domain, it's a problem. Those bounds. Thank you for rescuing me. So let's just go back into here. I think we're good now. So I'm looking through the true Houdini hero. This man has saved me many a times. So I think, like, I'm looking through my camera now, and I want, I just want to make my force and stuff a little bit bigger. You can scale everything, but then you have to, like, compensate velocities and that kind of stuff, so I don't want to get into that hacks and stuff too early. I'm still kind of setting everything up. Maybe this wind's a bit too much. I might use this next pop axis force. So this was like the downward and outward velocity. I'm just gonna grab all these codes and just delete the inversion or the flipped. But this thing should take over and blow everything down and out. So I don't know, I think maybe not as much suction. Could be nice. Maybe these particles, so if I change my life expectancy, you can see it's pretty greatly changing like the result because I have all of these things wired up to use that normalized age setting. I'm just gonna expand my frame range here. We'll go back to the 10-second timeline. Aha! We're doing something. So this could be a little bit more interesting. You want to get rid of some of this stepping. If you just increase sub-steps there, it's a little bit slower to solve, but you'll get a smoother, nicer emission. You might not need that many. So that could be good. Because I'm making everything bigger, I'm going to make my voxel size a bit bigger as well. And this particle scale. So I might have made my particle scale a bit too big. It's just like too much power. Basically, the bigger your particles get, the more they'll like influence the velocity. We might have gone a bit too coarse. I think our simulation was a bit too low. Bob Ross, there's that boy. So it might just, our forces might be like overall transitioning too slowly. I'll just go back down with the life expectancy and stuff. I don't know if I'm gonna win. I'm gonna get the Iron Man for sure. With the that's just, you have to submit everything every day, but it doesn't matter if the quality of as long as you just put something in, you get it's like the swag pack or something like that. So, like I was saying, I'm not super interested in the end result. Like, I'm more interested in the motion. Like, I'm not talking about the velocity field or the density. If I just do box, I don't want that. Copy to points. Was that the one I was using? I think I was using the old one somehow by mistake. So we have our things moving around, but they always have the same orientation, which isn't that useful. It's not that good. So I think if we go inside of here, you can do like analysis of the velocity, and then I think if we get the curl, it's a tornado of things. It's something like a tornado of boxes or something. This is Bell. So we're analyzing the velocity field and doing the curl from it. And then I think if I just set my normal, get the volume sample vector from this first input, the auxiliary input, the 0th primitive, it's always just going to be primitive number 0, and then just sample it from the current position. Now you can see that this stuff is kind of orienting in the direction of velocity or motion or stuff like that. Because we're overriding that value every frame, it becomes a bit like, it might just be a bit too glittery, or like it's just going to change too quickly, and it might be a bit like jittery, I guess. So one thing we can do is just take the current incoming normal. Sorry, I'm getting a bit too carried away with myself here. So we're taking the normal, blending it with the result of this. We probably want to normalize it just to be certain. I don't know if we want to. Let's not do it for right now. And then I'll just blend it. So we're just saying get 10% closer to this thing, like only try to match it at 10% of the speed. And then at the end here, I'm just going to normalize the normals. Normalize. Just to make sure that they don't get too wild. So you can see maybe now that they aren't snapping randomly to like the updated direction, but it's more of a slower update, like a blended transition or something like that. So it might make them smaller. I might just pack this to do like a visualization, like instancing kind of a quicker way of doing that. So you can see what I'm talking about there with the aligning with the velocity directions. It's a good trick. Yeah, it's a gem. You have the gem emote in my sub emotes now, so you guys can use it. So it's cool. I think at the end of our particle simulation, I might just get this guy in the mix as well. So I think with this one, I do want it to be going just back towards the middle. So my Taurus stuff is like blowing things out too much. Get these gems going. So I think I can just layer these. So if we just do this constantly, we get that kind of effect. But if I multiply this by the, ooh, just made a copy of a whole network there. So if I just copy it in there, instead of copying a bunch of nodes, for scale, then just closer to the end of the lifespan, things will go in. I think I'm gonna get rid of that variance to get more of a cohesive kind of effect. And maybe this activation, only if the global frame number is less than 12. So basically we'll stop sourcing stuff at a certain frame. So this stuff might not be a bit too strong now. Maybe my wind is just a bit too out of hand. This could be nice. I don't know. Kind of like a fountain or something. Let's see what happens with it. Ooh. It's like Avatar: The Last Airbender over here. So I'm kind of building something here. I don't really like how it looks. I like leaves. Yeah, I'm not trying to do that. It looks pretty cool, but I want more of the stuff to go down and out. Like, getting too many stray velocity stuff happening. I'm trying to think what the best way to fix this is. Yeah, I just want to end with stuff kind of going back towards the center of the world and going down a little bit more. So it might just be these. Just gonna try making stuff a bit smaller to so we're just not bringing as much velocity into the simulation. So this should kind of just chill things out quite a bit. Like if your particles that you're using as sources to DOPS are too big, then it's just like big fans kind of blowing stuff everywhere. This should be a bit more contained overall. Yeah, you could do drag. I mean, that just sadly will only affect the pop particles. Like, it doesn't, that if I do more drag, it won't go into the pyro simulation. Like, I won't have a drag effect with the smoke. It will just happen to these source particles. But it might be a good idea to introduce some. And maybe just at the start, Ooh, oh dear. You guys hear that bomb go off? So I think we can just do I think we can just do they're coming for me. I think we can just do folks are lighting off bombs over here. I think we can just do air resist. 4th of July. People are starting early. So I think I could do 1 minus. They're coming for my freedom. We're coming for our freedom, brother. So I think I can do 1 minus. I want this drag to be powerful, fully applied at the start, and then ease off at the end. So you can see that kind of effect if I really boost it. Someone's testing the pyro stuff in real life. Let's try this. I don't know, I might make my source area a bit smaller. See what happens. Could be nice. So I think is like a global way to get everything like flushed out of the simulation. What I'm gonna do is bring in not only this density, but also be modifying the temperature. And then right here, if I just do my buoyancy strength, we'll flip it around. So it's like a dry ice. And maybe just for the amount, just do this time. So it's just always like slowly creeping up on us. Whoops, move that back. Maybe try that as a visualization. Another thing I'm gonna do, you use this trail, compute velocity. We want it to match by ID. This way we'll recalculate the velocity, and then I can just transform my source particles. So like if I want my source to be bigger, I don't know if I need this many of those. Then I can just change like the size of my source area if I want it to be taller. So we just need to make sure we're doing the trail to recalibrate or recalculate the velocity each time. So now stuff's going up and then flushing back out. I might want more of this orbit. We're kind of losing the this guy's a bit too large. Whoa, 35. Crashed the computer. So now it's a bit faster. We're still not getting enough orbit. Maybe my suction, like some of these parameters, you can get them competing with each other too strongly. Let's try this. So I don't know why my orbit wasn't reading that well. I might just be fighting with drag and that other stuff too much. You like this track? So this might be a bit better. Let's just make our source particles a bit bigger. Can you scatter extra velocities on the VDB with VDB analysis and use curvature? I'm not sure what. It's a lot of operations going on there. Are you saying is it possible to? I'm not sure which VDB. So I'm just going to use this. Trying to see like the lighting and shading and stuff. I'm gonna turn this. Maybe if we turn one of them off in the viewport, it was like blowing stuff out a bit too much. So the advected particles will always stay inside the volume. Yeah, you can do that. You're talking about constraining them. It's possible. It's not what I'm trying to do right now, though. So I think I'm not too concerned about stuff flinging outside, because I can always expand the domain. I think this could be good. We punched through the 1 hour mark. That means it's time to start wrapping it up, getting into lighting and rendering, and getting close to that. So I'm just trying to introduce like a gradual wind force and then flush everything down, flush it out of the view. This is what I'm saying. I wasn't too concerned with like the density, the way that stuff is moving. Just trying to very simply create like something down here that's behaving more interestingly. I might go back to this transforming my source particles. So if I just stretch them out by 2, then the residual motion that they're creating should be higher. You go up even higher. I don't know if I'm stretching them too high. Yadira, thanks for stopping by and checking it out. Yeah, so I'll probably post this. Did too much now. I'll probably post this to YouTube with the VOD or whatever. But yeah, thanks for subbing. Thanks for chopping it up. So I think my trail, like it was skipping. I stretched things out, but then the velocities were getting missed in the grid or whatever. There it is. We don't need to worry about the other stuff for right now. I don't know, it's a bit too chaotic at the start. So I'm in a weird balance right now, I think, of just like scaling my source particles bigger or smaller to affect all the underlying motion. This could be nice. I don't know. I keep saying that and then making more tweaks. Let's just smash it into render. So I'm just gonna make more wind on my source particles. Trying to get it to read. I don't know, it's looking more like pasta right now than it is like a wind. Whoa, it might just be that I was getting carried away with that scaling operations. This could be better. So I was just not looking at the results I was doing. Let's just get less of these to work a little bit more quickly. I think this domain, like I'm just worried about the motion right now, so we don't need it to be super high resolution. That's some wind. It's a windy day. Then it just hits the edges. So like I was saying, we can expand the domain if we need to. So this is just very low resolution, but for interesting motion, you don't need a ton of detail in your simulation. So I'll just clean some stuff up here. Mash that stuff around. Save this scene just in case. And I think that, whoops, not that one. If we go to Object Network, they have these guys that you can play around with. Mocap fellas. So they have some different animations and stuff like that. Turning is like the Zoolander fashion runway walk. I can't. He couldn't turn right, or he couldn't turn left, or something like that. They have all kinds of animations that you can do, like this gentleman who is getting zombified. Anyone recommend a Crowds beginner tutorial? I don't know. I've seen a couple like blog posts and stuff like that, but none that are like a masterclass or anything. I think that Matt Estella on CG Wiki, he's started to make a crowd section on that website. So maybe walks and turns. Oh, this could be nice. Like he's getting blown away. The wind kicks in and he's like, whoa. So yeah, so just go to the CG Wiki, and I think that there's a crowds section of that. So these textures, you can give them different outfits. That was nice. So this looks like he's ready to go to the rave. He's going somewhere dooming in all black. Oh, Peter Quint has some new ones. I haven't looked at his stuff recently. So this should be good. Let's go back into our camera. Instead of like not moving, you can have them actually walk around with that stuff. So I just have to do an object network because those nodes are only object nodes. And then I can, I think, bring him in with this object merge. So if I go into my current network, then we just need to find the object network, this guy, skin. You usually just want to grab the skin deform. So there it is. We'll just reposition him. I think I want 180 degrees, so he's going the other way, and slide him around. Hey. I don't know if I want. Yeah, it's a funny little. Whoa, hey, whoa. I don't know if I think maybe move him so he's like out of frame. Just get his hand out of there. I don't know. I'm just gonna pin the view here and see if some of these other ones make it further. Yeah, so this guy is able to get center frame. So that should work better. Yeah. So if we we scatter points onto him, every frame these are getting a new position. If you just do it once, you can move them using the like primitive intrinsics or whatever. Not pack primitive intrinsics, but just coordinates, like those kind of intrinsics. So if I just take this time shift and lock off my scattered result, you have to enable these two attributes, and then source prim UV. Couldn't find the primitive number. These might be named a bit differently. Might not want to do it as a poly soup. I might be, I think I had that flipped around. So now they're sticking to him. Boom. So let's take a look at it. Like, we can put these points into the simulation. I think I want to perhaps do the normal onto points, just so they start like oriented. They should be oriented along the surface. And with this start frame, I might just want to do like 37. So it will just bring his. Whoa! I think I did some stuff wrong. This is the master plan, what to do with this guy. So I need to plan out some other stuff, I believe. It's a glimpse of we'll get there in the next hour or so. This poor fella, his soul is being extracted. So let's take a look at him. So we'll just use this point selection. Get the point on the top of his head, group it. I'm just gonna do this in another chain. And then I think if we do distance along geometry, this will make basically a distance value. I guess he deserves it. It seems too nice to take a 4 soul. I did something here, I don't know. Turned him into a blue man, Gumby guy. So I think the big issue is that this stuff isn't connected. Like his clothes, all this stuff doesn't connect. Let's just do VDB from polygons. And then VDB convert. We're just making him into a blobby. Connected guy. Looks like his part of his finger is getting lost right there. So this might be better. Then I'm just gonna find a frame where his limbs, his stuff is disconnected. We'll just get another time shift. This is 18. So now I need to reselect my group point. This topology and stuff changes. Group. Then this guy, just update it to group 2. There it is. So now we have a nice attribute that can go from 0 to 1 to blend smoothly between everything. So this outputs a distance attribute, and I can just transfer it. This is going to be a bit weird because we just did this on one frame and then locked it off. I think we just need to do a point deform. So this is our source, rest. Need to do it a bit differently. This is the rest. And this is the deforming. So now we have our blobbied VDB character, but he's deforming with everything. So this way we know where our fall off exists on the start frame. So if I do distance, now I have a distance attribute on this geometry. There's a lot of weird steps I'm doing here. some dark arts. So just to make sure that I have that distance, if I just do a color, do it by attribute, dist, now we have it, we can see it. So I want to use this to go like whoop and convert him apply the wind force to him over the duration of these frames or whatever. We should be good. I'm just gonna assign this rest position to him, just so we have coordinates that are stuck before we start moving his actual position points around. So if I do like color equals the distance, that attribute that I assigned using the distance along surface, compare it with a spare parameter. We'll just call it activate. And assign it. So it starts out black, and then as I increment it, things are converted or they turn white. So it should be good. I think... I'm not sure why it's getting kind of clamped like that. Might be more... I don't know if it has to do with that stuff. Now it looks a bit smoother. I don't know, I might have messed something up as well. But I think I want to do this time shift at the bottom as well, just to make sure that nothing above it is updating. Boom. Reveal yourself. Show yourself. So we can, one of the things that we can do if we want is add a noise to the distance before we compare it against this activation threshold. And then this one we want to use that rest coordinate space. So you could see we did a big modulation to everything. If I multiply it and divide it by some numbers, what we've done here is like increase the frequency of the noise and reduced the amplitude or the strength of it. So now we have like just a bit of a extra pattern, extra detail or interest that we're adding to things. Aha. So let's see. We have him. We have this animation stuff. Vegan nuts. Very nice. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it depends on the complexity of the noise I'm trying to add. But basically, if it's just something simple like this, like I don't need a ton of time like artistically directing it. I'll do it in Vex like that because it's quicker. But if it's something that's going to be like have a big impact on the end visual result, I'll take the time usually to do it in VOPs. If I'm doing like a very nice texture kind of generation type of noise, then VOPs is probably the way to go. So we have these things and they're turning from black to white when we're activating them. So let's just set up that animation right now. So when he starts to put his hands up, it's kind of hard to see. When he starts to put his hands up, I think that's when we want him to start getting like activated or blown away. So I'll just set a keyframe there. And by the time he like starts walking again, I'm gonna go like that, and then it looks like we need it a bit higher just to make sure. This distance is like in meters, I think. So it's actually his height in units. Whoa. Whoosh. So we can finesse that a little bit more if we want to or not. It's not super important. And then in here, what we can do is just blend between these two. So we have this input starting frame. I don't think we want that. We basically have our like solving chain, our forces that we're applying, and then our animation deforming like live geometry. So get the color of it. If I just do color equals up input CD underscore 1. Let's just do a quick test without messing with the velocity field. So if he does update his color, we'll know that it's working. Looks like it's not working. Pod Z111, how's it going? We got pods on the pods. So I'm just to be careful, I'm just gonna do this point expression. It's a bit more reliable. So we want the first input, the color, and just match it using the point number. Now it's updating. So this color is basically going to be our bias. So we'll do float bias equals color R, the red component of the color channel. And our position 0 will be the current point position, and maybe that will be position 1 will be the current point position, and the position 0 will be grab the wrong thing, P0. So we have two different position coordinates. This one's going to be our animation. So instead of color, we'll just grab the position from this input. And then if I just do P equals lerp, P0, P1 bias. We're basically saying use the color to blend or switch between the animation when it's black, or the first number, and then when the color changes to white, it will use P1, the live position. I'm gonna see a moonwalk. Let's see if we can even get him walking at first. It's starting to move. We got something. Oh, something happened in here. So it's going to be a little bit easier to visualize now if we just remove the colors. So basically just using colors to debug things. Whoa. And then we're not using it after that. This comp is good at it. You're good at moonwalking? The competitiveness in everyone? Yeah, I don't know. I'm not too... I'm more just interested because it's like... It's a good inspiration or whatever to have, you know, fun prompts and stuff like that. I don't think I don't know, it seems like the majority of people don't even care too much about the prizes. Like there was something from Intel or something like that. I don't know. So I'm just gonna do a time offset to delay the start of the velocity field. So it will start a few frames later. Something's happening here where he's not... There might not be velocity in that area that quickly. I might need to go the other way. like fast forward my velocity field a little bit. A couple of t-shirts. So if you do the Iron Man just do an entry every day, then you should have the you should be getting a t-shirt, right? So I don't know if this is a good idea, but we can add sub-steps to this, and then that should fix a bit of the stepping that you're seeing. I think we have to be careful with this though, because I haven't compensated the velocity fully. So we just need to copy that parameter, go to this, and divide our time step by that substep. So now we're compensating the strength of that velocity. So I'm going to turn those substeps back to 1. Just try to find a better section of the underlying like pyro simulation, the source or whatever that we're going into. So I don't know, maybe I want it, I think I want it delayed a little bit. I think I'm just gonna cache this as well. I have some fears that it's not like causing the simulation to trigger. So if I just toss this in the temporary directory, all this other stuff should be good. I don't know if I need all these frames. I just do like 160. So the velocity field is a pretty low resolution. My thinking was like maybe the SOP solver, if it wasn't using that data at the start, it wouldn't trigger the other simulations to cook. So you could, I think we're good with just the 90 frames or whatever. So let's give this. Got errors everywhere. Missing the velocity grid. So you just probably want to hold the first frame. I don't know, all that work and it didn't didn't fix our result. So I think we're going the wrong way with this. We want to advance the velocity field to just have it starting a bit earlier. So this isn't a good idea, but for the sake of time, I'm just gonna do it. See what happens. I'm just gonna scale the velocity field. Now it's a little bit more interesting. This is a hack. I don't think you should ever use it, but for this specific situation. Why is it a good idea? Because the stuff is looking better. Why is it not a good idea? Basically, like once you scale the velocity field, the actual values in the velocity are not getting scaled, like the motion of it. So you're just not in a physically accurate like realm anymore, and you're just in a weird, like I'm kind of in a fantasy territory right now, the way that I'm manipulating this stuff. But if you're actually trying to like drive a pyro simulate, like a simulation with it. I could transform the space, like I could transform, it probably would be better to scale this guy before the simulation and then scale him afterwards or whatever, but this is the grind, the Hulai, just bashing, grinding stuff out. If it was a actual effect for something that like I would be handing off to someone else or something like that, I would maybe be a bit more frightened about doing this kind of hack. The real trenches. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna try making everything a bit bigger. Hacky Hulai. So let's see what, so I'm just kind of using this to move the velocity around to try to find like a more interesting section of it, a better area. This is kind of looking better. If I am doing this, I can do the same transformation to my domain, because I'm basically expanding the whole region that my simulation and stuff is happening in. So that could be cool. It's starting to look just visually a bit better. I'm gonna delay the transition from animation to pyro. Like animation to smoke vel, basically. So this transition here is what I was adjusting the keyframe of. It's cooler, I think, to see more of his disembodied stuff. It's like, whoa, where am I going? And so that's this motion and stuff is feeling better. Going to bed. Sorry to keep you up so late, Alex. This will be like 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. there. Whoa. Thanks for the gem. Yeah, of course. I think my velocity might be a bit too strong. I'm just gonna do more hacks and like divide the time step by 2. So I'm basically now just saying use half of the velocity. This might... Whoa. I think I should have listened to Yaderia's, I believe it was Yaderia's advice earlier, and just done this with the pop advect by volumes. But we'll see. Whoa. So this stuff is, I think, just getting delayed. It's too long. It was looking a bit weird, I think, with him like constrained to his original animation for too long. Like, it should be a quicker wind that is affecting him globally instead of like disembodied legs, zombie legs rolling around. So let's see what we're getting here. Whoa. It's pretty cool. I think we're good with this motion. This guy's saying, I think he's running out of velocity information. So I think just gonna solve more frames of this. It's pretty quick to run. I'll just let it go. I'm gonna fill up my water. I'll be right back. Wonder how these wind posts are going on the forum. Think we could take a look? Whoa, there's a lot of them already. I was looking through it earlier today. I saw some good ones. Got a guy with a cape. Wind on wind. He could have done this for his growth prompt. It was like happening later on. Tumbleweed, there it is. Pretty nice smoke there. Ooh, the wizard, Sauron or whatever. So I just simulated the velocity longer, so we have more frames to push stuff around with. And then I think we can still use this copy to points. If I do that, I just need to be careful and do the same interpolation here, so that the normal is getting the same stuff happening to it. So keep applying these things. Just do N0, N1, normal, normal. And then this way, this stuff should be keep updating to align like along his surface directions. I think when I started to use normals, I like once you start adding that attribute in, you might need to work along a direction. Like, I don't know, it should be let's make sure this stuff is happening properly. So we have our furry boy. Still has normals there. Something happened to them. Oh, I didn't do this part. Yeah. Thanks for catching. Pega was moving too quickly. I think I got too deep in the weeds here with this entry today and was just doing too much technical nonsense. So we're getting some nice motion now. Some of it, I don't know, it's a bit pasta-y still. Let's try it without like real-time playback. So I think this can be good. We're just gonna want more sub-steps when we do like the final thing for real. It's like American Psycho. What part of American Psycho? I think we want I'm gonna reduce this. American Beauty, the plastic bag. Yeah, the thing that the guy's filming. I'm gonna do more particles on him. It just takes a little bit of time to do the relaxation or whatever of the points. All right, we're good. We're at 1 million. 1 million points. So I think just given time constraints and stuff like that, we're gonna go with these results. This one, I'm just gonna put this back in the scene directory. Maybe just like 165 frames. We want more sub steps. Let's do it. Working in ultra sloppy mode here with this naming conventions and stuff like that. It's just a daily, we're just throwing the file away after today. Side Effects wants to look at it, they can go through the mess. We got some of these boys. This guy made like an entire sequence. It's pretty cool. Who is this? Does anyone know who this is? Elvis? Who is that man? Who are these characters? This gentleman, this looks like maybe, I don't know. Who is this? Who are these people? Who are these faces? Like Mr. Miyagi or something? It's too much. I don't know who these people are. This is pretty cool. It's creepy. This is nice. Some laundry. You got your washing, hang your washing out in the wind. This is like the start of my stuff. Those are pretty nice details. Ooh, nice. Wow. It's beautiful. Oof. Pop, pop, pop. This is pretty nice. This is all vellum or something. I always have a hard time getting these constraints working. Yeah, I saw Flight 404's vellum fire. It was a pretty innovative, creative approach. I think Flight 404 is going to take the prize. It's a nice wind chime thing. Yeah, I think Flight 404's stuff was on the first page, maybe. Someone in the chat was making this, right? Is he in here? Who was it? Corignan, maybe? Ah, yes, there he is. Yeah, that turned out pretty well. The archery arrow thing you were doing was pretty cool too. This one was someone else as well from the Discord or from the chat. This one as well, I saw someone was doing this. See in here? Maybe the Flight 404s is on the second page. Oof. Someone's got their kilt on. Yeah, here it is. He did a, yeah, I think we just have to, I guess you can't embed this stuff. Yeah, this thing's really nice. He has a really good eye for lighting and all that stuff. It's a simpler approach. Like I got way too lost in the sauce here today. I think with my should have just done this SOP solver really killed me. I think I should have just done a pop advect. Who was it? Yadiera, I believe. Someone was giving me that advice and I blew them off. I shouldn't have done that. It was good advice. I got too greedy and just wanted to be too technical. So this is taking 5 minutes so far. I think we could give it maybe another 3 or 4 minutes or something like that. Yeah, that vellum cloth stuff was looking pretty good. So if I guessed, like if I were to set this up, I don't think you need pyro. Like you can just use pop forces on the vellum directly, and then just constraints to get it pinned or attached to the base and all that stuff. I think like that one guy, Vincent Schwenk, that we were looking at. Like if he, it would be really cool, I think, to get just a little bit more like this kind of stuff going on with those cloths, like a bit of texture or something like that. But the time that you have to render these and do everything in a day, it makes it pretty difficult. But seeing being able to see through these, or like a bit of translucency, I think could be nice. I don't know, he could have tried it and it didn't look that good because like this is a good contrast he has between the different color ramp or whatever. But yeah, this is just a super good one. Give him some thumb. So we're at frame 80 of our cache. I think we can let it go a bit longer, maybe like 144 or something like that. What do you guys think? I think my plan, once the stuff starts to blow down, I'm just gonna start shrinking the P scale to have it kind of boost like the dissipation of it, just manually with a ramp or with another animation to kind of fade stuff out. I'm gonna shrink the particles over time, so that way we don't need to worry about like stuff getting to the edges of the boxes or the edge of the domain. That way we can also just not have to cache as many frames. This is a bit of a trick, the magician's trick to do that. Yeah, so you got the Intel software doing the sponsors. I don't know if they're going to be giving out CPUs. I didn't understand what this part was saying. Like, use Instagram, not Twitter. Don't even think about tweeting this. We'll repost. I haven't seen them repost. Like, I don't even think you can repost on Instagram. Yeah, Nvidia would be a better sponsor. What are people gonna do with Intel's? Use Mantra? I don't think so. I don't know. Just counted for 3 days, the likes. Let's get these hearts going, boys. Repost is not native. You have to do another app. You remember when people on Android couldn't post to Instagram? What a time that was. So maybe just 10 or 20 more frames and we'll be good with our cache. We'll be locked in. We won't be able to change it after that. We have maybe, I don't know, try to finish this in 15, 20 minutes. We're running a bit long with the time right now. Just give this guy three more frames. Probably should have just unsaved the disk in background. That thing was bugging out with me recently. I think this should be good. Whoa. I don't know. Like the motion feels a bit unnatural. This is why I was saying I'm afraid to scale the velocity like I did. If you tamper with these values a bit too much, you get into weird territories. Let's just keep going with this and see what happens. So we were aligning the little boxes, grids to him. I think we made them a bit too big now. I don't know, maybe we want to go the other... I'm making an executive decision here, boys. Just did it take you a long time to recoup costs for your PC? I already had the money saved up, so it wasn't a recoup of costs or whatever, but it was a big investment for stuff. But if it's your job, you're doing 10 hours on the computer a day. I don't own a car, I don't have a lot of other expenses, so I didn't just put it all into the computer. So what I'm doing here, I think if we just have less points, it's going to be a better effect. In the GPU we trust. So it's going to be quicker to re-simulate this with the substeps and all that stuff. And then I think just like visually, it's going to be a situation where less is more. So I think that's going to be more interesting of a effect. Like you notice the rotation and things. When we had just a ton, it wasn't visually looking as good. So we might maybe want to switch to a circle. Whoa. Way too big. Then I think those need to go on a different axis. Get a polka dot man. That could be cool. The spotted man. Let's try a bit more. So I think this is going to be better. Just cache it again. This time it should be a lot quicker because we have less stuff. I feel like that's the biggest mistake to make with these daily challenges, is like biting off more than you can chew. Like just trying to do something with a ton of detail takes a lot more time to execute. Well, than these more simplistic kind of stuff. So let's just add another wrangle here. This one, set the P scale to 1. So that's our starting P scale. We've done our uniform scaling right there. And then we'll fit, the point number isn't changing, so I can use that as my seed for a random function. So we're generating a random number between 0 and 1 using the point number, and then I want to fit that between 80 and 100, and the source range is just 0 and 1. So if I multiply this p-scale by that random number, we'd get really big ones and really small ones. But what I want to do with this number, instead of multiplying it with p-scale directly, is just compare it with the frame number. So now, depending on, I think I messed this up a bit. Do a random number. It's kind of right. Might not have been exactly what I was trying to do. I think it's okay. So I think it works better if we do it like this. Okay. That way they fade out a little bit nicer. Your first post on the forum needs to be approved, so you're waiting for the side effects people to approve it. But I think, like, I can see some of the domain edges and stuff. Don't have enough frames. All right, so we can do that, and then to hide the edges of the domain, I'm just going to do an additional mask to the p-scale, and do this one as a fit function, just using the length of p, the current point position, like the distance from the origin, maybe like 1 and 2, and remap that. It's looking great. Yeah, it's something. It's not as good as I was hoping it would be. It is a quick, just grinding stuff out in a few hours is hard. So that we just don't want this mask to happen until a certain time. So if I just set this other limit thing to a parameter, fade, then I can keyframe when that happens. So if I leave it at 1, this mask won't have any effect, but then once that stuff starts collecting at the edges, We'll start. Whoops. I think I want this at 1. And then start fading it off there. Whoa. There he goes. He's gone. He vanished. So maybe this sphere, maybe we want like tubes instead. Who's going X, Y. So this one I think should be Z. Let's just go a bit smaller with the other stuff. Could be interesting doing this. It's like he's made out of little soda bottles. Whoa. I think my velocity blending, I want that to happen a little bit quicker. Like I want these to be rotating using that velocity stuff a bit. I don't know. I think I made a mistake here. Let's just normalize that. Maybe just a small update. Let's see if that fixes things. I'm just trying to get them not to change their alignment as quickly. That stuff might be a little bit better. Just save it again. We're in the turbo zone. We need to wrap it up. So I'll probably just bake this geometry out, just do bang out a very quick render, lighting, and all that stuff. So I already have the cyclorama, like the backdrop from my submission yesterday. We should be good using that. We'll move this over to polygons. Whoa. Let's just play around with this. Maybe end caps. What a mistake. I could have done this a lot better just using pops, I think. I didn't need to do a whole pyros. I did the classic over-engineering of like all this shit. It's alright, we'll just do it. So we have our environment all set up here. Go into the redshift. Do a render. We got our boy. So I was setting depth of field, I think. You just click it to set it using the redshift viewer. I don't know about my lights. So it might be nice just to have a strong like overhead one, like a pretty diffuse ambient lighting. I think we might need normals. I'm going to take this tubes, just like VDB them to get little smooth, puffy kind of capsules. if I do VDB from polygons like that with a lot of divisions here, and then convert back, we're just doing another kind of blobby looking thing. And we just need more resolution, and we could just do the smooth. Something happened. Oh, I did something wrong. I think I forgot to turn on instancing. So because I'm packing these, I need to tell Redshift that I'm doing that. So under instancing, if you just do instance top level packed primitives, now it's rendering instantaneously. So before it was a low enough resolution that like the objects were simple enough it could render them without without knowing about instancing. So let's see. Instancing, I think just under settings, my point count and stuff isn't changing. So I can just do motion blur using deformation. Let's just see if that works. Might need this instances particles blur. Ah, it works. Do you guys think white, just a super simple composition like that? Let's see what happens when these things get really small. It's disappearing. Whoosh, vanishing. You posted to the Discord. You want me to look at it? Where did it go? Finished? Ooh. This looks pretty good. Wow. This looks better than me. Just smash that out. Did you just do that while this whole stream was going? It's super nice with that procedural blooming. This vase is looking, the shader and stuff for it is pretty cool. Vegan nuts, I thought you were just beginning to use Houdini. You're out here knocking things out of the park. Started it a bit earlier this morning. So we got our Marshmallow Man here, and that is good. I don't know, I mean, it's all, we're just making art. There's no, you can't be an undisputed champion when you're making a subjective kind of art form. So this it's pretty good. Let's do some more hacks. So I think I just transform everything here. Just get him filling the frame a bit better. Happened? What happened here? How did these get here? Is almost the Michelin Man. How did the hell? Where the hell did those things come from? I think we might want to maybe do the time blend. Maybe we'll do it after the fact here. Got some stray vertices becoming spheres. Do you think that's the fact? Sometimes this clean my geometry. I think it's a motion blur issue. This thing should be mapping stuff pretty well. Maybe we need the ID. Like my point count and all this stuff shouldn't be changing. Let's just go in here to subframe playback. We're getting like smooth, super smooth motion. I don't know. Everything's smooth. 3 a.m. in Dubai. You like him slow? Or maybe we'll add a speed ramp. We go back to integer frames. Let's try this thing again. Whoa. The hell is going on here? Where did this boy come from? So I think I know what happened. I think like with the redshift objects, because I have this visibility turned on, it was rendering that object. Got a ghost in our scene. Who is there? Who is there behind him? Yeah, so we should. That was what that stuff is that we were seeing. Yeah, it's very haunting to just discover a spirit in your scene. So Mr. What a horror that. Yeah, all of a sudden you just start seeing random characters like in your render. That could be a sequel to The Ring. You got a 3D artist working on like something late at night, and all of a sudden his 3D software is being haunted by some spirits. So let's just maybe try a time shift. Maybe add a ramp in X to the points to match the psych. You think that's gonna look good? I think maybe I don't know, that could be like too much of a camouflage. I don't know, I think that could look a bit mysterious. So what doesn't, they don't go through the back, do you think? My psych is too close maybe. So I think this time expand it. Let's just mess around with this. We haven't really touched this lights a bit. Let's go away. Maybe we want to get rid of that color stuff. It's a bit funky. Let's go into our redshift, turn on these SOP updates. It's a bit odd with our lighting right now. This thing, I'm just gonna mute it a little bit. Yeah, that redshift is almost, we're almost like Solaris mode. Like working real time almost. Let's go into this other light too. It's just a bit too diffuse. We're just gonna go from that direction. So I might just make a new material. I don't know, this could be okay. somehow the mask didn't get fully applied here. Should it not be? This guy's messing things up. We don't need all that stuff because I was just debugging. Alright, I think we're good. Saved. Like the technique you use, Vex. I watch hundreds of tutorials, but yours are a lot to never feel sleepy. Thank you. I put myself to sleep here with this one today, I feel like. But yeah, I never tried to go full throat. Full throat on the Vex. Like, I'll just try to jump into it for a couple lines of code. Because you could get lost in it. You're typing out paragraphs. You have a whole novel that you've written or something. So I think this, I don't know, this is pretty simple lighting, but I don't know, I kind of like the minimal. Your code is to the point. Thank you, yeah. Try not to waste too much time and stuff with it. So I think we're close to calling it. I might just stick with this kind of simple shader setup or whatever. Trying another run here with more cylinders copied to him. I'm gonna see, I'm just kind of trying to push things here. And just seeing how much kind of detail or shapes we can kind of pack into him. I never thought the possibilities of primitive node the way you use. I haven't, yeah, for the way I use primitive node for working with volumes and adjusting the visualization and stuff of them. So this could be a more interesting specimen that we've set up here. Our lighting might be a bit, let me get rid of that for now. No more Asus. All my homies hate Asus. We're gonna keep this thing the way that it is. Just change the exposure. Maybe we want some bloom on this one. It's a nice soft the spirit. The spirit has entered the scene. It's like you put the Vaseline on the lens. Maybe just a soft glow or something like that. Yeah, I don't know. I wish I had more turbulence and stuff to kind of break him up. It seems a bit odd the way that these stuff is like overlapping, but I think we're just gonna have to live with it the way that it is. What's going on here? Somehow I lost my stuff. Yes, I think this is gonna be close to what we end up with. Somewhat interesting. You could cover something like this fluid techniques in the next stream. 3 a.m. learning Houdini. Like, thank you. What do we have here? Ooh, you want some chocolate fluids? This chocolate isn't vegan. Vegan nuts won't approve of it. We might be able to cover, I don't know, this could be maybe looking at like one of these shots or something, how it gets. This final one here is pretty interesting. This stuff here too is pretty cool. It's like The Shining, instead of the blood coming out of the elevator, everything's, the chocolate's going everywhere. So I might just get rid of this bloom. I think it's not helping us that much. And then I think the last tweak I'm gonna make, Mr. Oiseau had noticed something pretty nice. So if we just do a time shift at the end, I think we could just do like some time shifting or whatever on things. So we'll start with the first frame and go to like 144 at the end. I think our simulation just has to cook a bit more. Should have cached it. We can always do that though. So this way we can just remap. Like I want time at the start to be pretty linear. So like 34 is our current frame. We're getting something close to 34. And then it tapers off. So it ramps into like a slow-mo. But I think we just need to do it sooner. I don't know. Ooh, ran out of gas. That feels a little bit nicer, I think. I don't know if at the start we're he's walking too fast. Last part of the video where she has wings of chocolate, I love the most. I didn't get to that part. Oof, it's pretty nice. It's like Method did a thing with people made out of milk, or they had milk like wings or propellers. It looked pretty cool, kind of like that. That tight shot was pretty nice too, like the surface tension. This thing's a little bit, I don't know, it'd be cool to see more like surface tension, or maybe they figured because of the scale of it, they wanted it like more stringy or turbulent or whatever. So I was just taking this time shifter to just gently kind of slow down the dispersion of him. He seems to be moving a bit fast though at the start. So let's take like around the time that he starts flying away. And that will be closer to the time that he... Ooh, I don't know about that. I think it's too dramatic. It's too like heavy-handed. Whoa. That could be better. Whoosh. He's gone. He vanished. That's pretty pleasant. Just ease him right out of reality. So we're going to like frame 110 right now. This simulation and stuff should still be cached. I'm just gonna run this to bake it. Like it just went really quick. But now we're reading it from disk. Yeah, so let's just take another look at these frames. It might be a bit too big right there, so I was just globally scaling everything. Like, I think he's breaking the frame a bit too much with the rotation, the way that everything's falling out. Wind. Yeah, it's very soothing, the way that it dissipates or whatever. I want to change this, like, duration that stuff's fading out. So we already have the mask, but ooh, we did it too much. This is the randomness of stuff. And then it looks like I needed my time blend. So if I do it right there, we should be good. Gone. There he goes. And he's gone. So now we're doing like 160 or something like that. Yeah, so this, I'm probably just gonna render this, smash it out pretty quickly. You'd probably get these settings reduced even more. Like if I'll just do some quick tweaks here. We're already pretty low with that adaptive air. Probably don't need that many GI bounces. So we're rendering, it's like 1920 by 1080. The depth of field, we have the bounces, like bounce light stuff happening. Probably getting like 20 seconds per frame. Something like that. They had the info somewhere. This is too much information. Somehow it pops it into a new window or something. Maybe like 30 seconds or a minute. I don't know about this stuff here. I guess it's a bit odd how it's like floating, but I guess it makes sense if this stuff is on the ground. So I think we're close to it. I'm gonna call it a stream here. Just gonna render this and probably post it the way that it is. It's not W. Is it a W? W question mark? F? F's for our boy here. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. Always a dub. Thank you. Big dub. Thank you, boys. I might try one last W. I don't know if we. Let's just see what this thing looks like. A big boy. You think that? Thank you, Podzy. Yeah, I don't know. I think when he gets too puffy, you don't see the form and all that stuff as much. I think this is pretty good. I'm just gonna make some quick tweaks here to the light, like the shadows look a bit weird. Let's look through this number 2. That's not the right one. Number 1. Do like, I think it's pretty cool if he's walking towards the light source. Maybe this light, the settings on it are a bit of a mess. I'm on the wrong light. Looking good. Thank you, Vegan Nuts. So I'm just making it a bit bigger to soften it up. Just get rid of some of those harsh shadows. 666. We're really summoning the beast, the spirits now. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's pretty good. Satan intensifies. I might go into my background ramp. I don't know if I'm just not getting light back there. Just kind of artificially boost it. It's a bit too dark in the back there. Now everything's a bit bright. We could go into our exposure. I think my black crush is just slamming stuff down too much. You can scale UV texture with this frequency, or I just need to do it in the SOP? I'm kind of just doing some, yeah, in SOP. I'm kind of just doing some lazy, like I just disabled that, but it ended up being a weird. I don't need it, like the light is already doing what I was simulating before with baking the color into the geometry. Yeah, so this, I think we're good the way that it is. Everything's kind of looking okay. So this is going to be the entry for today. Wind, day number 2. Thanks everyone for stopping by. If you like this stream's educational stuff or first person of view working, if you have the Prime, you could subscribe with Twitch using Amazon Prime. Link that up. It helps me out. It helps the community grow and get stronger. If you got anyone wanting to subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated. But we'll plan to come back here tomorrow, back to the schedule. Yes, of course. Thanks for being a subscriber, Steve GH. Yeah, so tomorrow we'll be back here at the 1 p.m., the regularly scheduled time. Cool zone incoming. We are approaching the cool zone. Landing shortly. Yeah, so I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right, later.